In a perfect world.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for another beautiful day. Thankful for what you've done for us today. We're thankful, Lord, that you've allowed us together to do the business of the citizens of Bedford County. Lord, we pray that our intentions will be pure this evening, that our motives will be on par with what you would have us to do. And most of all, that in everything we do, we would recognize you and give you glory for your goodness toward us. Thank you for Jesus, for what he's done for each of us here tonight. And we ask this prayer in his name. Amen. Amen.
Mr. David,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
everybody has read the ethics and awareness. Is there any conflicts? Not anybody sure? Hearing none, we'll move on to any additions or changes to the agenda.
Chairman, I move that, Vice Chairman, I move that we add under items of discussion, please, item D, Child Community Protection Team, item E, opioid settlements, and item D, F, attorney line staff contract.
Thank you. Everybody make note. B, assistant to C, to opioid discussion. Hello? All in favor? Moving forward to the approval of minutes. Oh, sorry. I skipped that one.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to the approval of minutes. Oh, gosh, sorry, guys. Right now, we will move on to the approval of minutes. Does everybody have time to review those?
Madam Vice Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from August 16th and September 6th.
Second.
Okay. Anybody here tonight? Not along with reports and presentations. Item 10A is tractor.
Wait, Bishop. Gabriel's here for you. Thank you.
Thank you. When you're shaking from up here, just to make sure to see that in the reminder, I saw everybody.
Anybody else would like to handle this? He's over here. Thank you for the time today to speak to you. I'm excited to be here. I think I got 5 minutes, right? 5 to 7. 5 to 7, okay. So it's good to be in Mitchell County because all that I know what I can skip. So I imagine most everybody in this room is related to a farmer. So they know why they're important. So I'll skip that whole section. My name is Drew Zucchino. I'm the executive director of Tractor. We're in Yancey County right now. My wife and I live on Bad Creek, and our ag programs manager, Sierra Bryant, who lives here in Bakersville, is with us today. And young Terry Moffitt over there, our potato grower out in Buell Bean, a former board member. So our business is pretty simple. It's getting farmers paid and getting people fed. We know agriculture has been hard over the last 30 years, and we've seen some light lately. And we have an opportunity here to put roots down in Mitchell County permanently, as opposed to a lease situation which we've been in for the past decade in Burnsville. And so we're working on a lease agreement in Spruce Pine at the moment. We got the contract today, so we're looking into this and hopefully be closed with it by the end of the month. So if you look at some information there, I'm going to just show you the trajectory and the trend we're sort of seeing. You can see the original model, which was to aggregate local produce from the Toe River area and sell to wholesalers, mainly Atlanta, Charlotte, Hickory. That just got harder and harder as agriculture continued to centralize, and then markets, just kind of left small rural towns and the dust for larger localized supply chains. So if you look at our numbers, we made a pretty significant pivot in 2020, kind of redirecting our supply chain towards the community and seeing what we could sell here. And if you look at that growth and stability page here, you start to see a pretty shocking trend there of what we started paying farmers. It started increasing pretty rapidly. And our projections are showing at that rate, we could potentially do almost $2.5 million in sales out of Mitchell and Mitchell County in 2024. So it's pretty rapid growth there, but as you see, our operating expenses are level, and our annual is just kind of right on there with it, our annual revenue. And then some other interesting stuff I wanted to point out, and you can just stop me whenever, because I can go, I will just go forever if you don't. We got a pretty interesting balance of revenue that stabilizes, so we're not reliant on one single source. Our program revenue has actually increased from 10%, from around 10% to 22%. And altogether, that kind of like passive income is about 30%. And then, 30% government grants and 30% foundation, just on the high side of that this year. So pretty balanced as far as where we're getting our revenue from, and we're seeing all aspects grow. That whole pie chart, that pie is just getting bigger. And so we have some flexibility on whether we move with our programming, whether it's true traditional sales or whether we're using foundation money to increase access for folks who normally don't have access to fresh local food. And that's a lot of help foundation. Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation. I've got some listed in there. We won't get through that. But as far as the agricultural side, what's interesting is in the past, 10 years, I did the colors right here. You'll see Yancey is up there. And Mitchell is just a little bit lower, but I think that, due to the proximity of where we were in that time period in Burnsville, that makes some sense. But since 2020, we've actually sold more product since that growth began, right? Since that, we started looking upwards on sales, we've been sourcing more from Mitchell County. So strategically, our move here, it makes a lot of sense for us and for the growers here. They're just able to purchase more product. There's less operations here, but they're selling more product. Those fewer operations are moving more product, which is a good sign, because that's those roots of scaled agriculture still exist here. Whereas in Yancey and Buncombe and Madison, you see a lot of more lifestyle market gardener type growers. So there's still potential here to move some pretty serious volumes in an industrial sense, as opposed to just kind of a novelty farmers market type deal. So I'll leave it at that, and obviously this is a much longer conversation moving forward. If anybody has any questions on open doors, and just give me a shout. I'll keep Alan updated on what we're doing. So we hope to be in October 1st, 15th, somewhere around there. And we'll be officially out of the county on December 31st.
y'all got some questions, because I do.
Yeah, one thing I would like to add, I don't want to cut him short on time. Pretty important thing here, so, you know, you got, for me personally, they got some more pertinent information in here. I'd like to hear it because I think
Sure.
this is huge for the community, and it sounds like it's very huge for us in this county. Because we're bringing new business.
Before we continue, I'd just like some clarification. Are we talking about just food, or is this like a nursery products too?
It could be nursery products. I mean, it could be equipment. Our model really switched because we went to kind of a delivery model, and we had already been doing that. We were 2 years into it, 2 or 3 years into it before COVID kind of hit, and you know, everything was delivery after that as far as just goods. So we had 2 or 3 years under our belt, and we didn't have to change it. We just kept going. We just blew it up. We got a USDA LFPP marketing grant for about $160,000 that allowed us to, you know, develop some packaging and marketing, you know, equipment to kind of promote the program, and that really helped. I think we did, what was our CSA sales? 2019 was like 23,000, and then like we did 80. And this year we're projected 200,000 in those, you know, purchases. And involved in that program is also, you know, state investments in food access and regional investments, and that's upwards of $500,000 in sales if you consider a health foundation or a state or federal government buyer. And we do, you know, we're moving food. That's what we do. We're trying to, you know, support local agriculture however we can. We'll go where the markets are. Unfortunately, that's been right here.
We have a question for you. I know you've talked to me about it, but I've never been brought out in the meeting. How many jobs are you bringing over to Mitchell County?
So we'll bring 5 full-time jobs. We are anticipating, if we can get moved into this facility in a 3-month period and kind of get set up and rolling, we would pretty quickly hire 2 more. And then if you know, consider the farmer network, and that's been the tough thing with the economic development side of things, is they want to see the organization actually like host those jobs, right? And they don't really take into account the hundreds of thousands of dollars we pay farmers who are sole proprietors. So that's been tough, you know, not to crack, but I feel like with some explaining, you always got to explain farming to everybody. But I feel like we'll get there. It just takes the right people and the right, you know, right conversation to make that clear. That we're not traditional. Farming's never been a package deal. It's different every time for every grower. I mean, the soil is different from here to there.
I just want to say something because I've worked with them through in the past and all about the financial projections and graphing and everything. And I looked at this organization as they worked over the years, and his growth has exponentially started increasing, and his profit margins are looking very impressive. And I think Mitchell County is going to be really happy to have a tractor here in Spruce Pines, so it's going to be really cool. I think it's going to be really something that's going to help our local farmers. They're going to have a means of selling their product, and another option. How does a farmer, if they want to sell in the tractor, how do they do that?
Give Sierra a call. That's great to hear that, but yeah, and we look at this holistically as a nonprofit. So as far as like competition, right? Like we have the capability to, you know, deliver local product to a retailer at cost, for example. So they're not paying a markup to us because our goal is to get more local food into the supply chain, however that may be. So, you know, if there's a question of a retailer or a farm stand or something like that, you know, we're there to work for them as well. We're looking at the whole thing, not just farmers, people, anybody involved in agriculture, and moving local product.
So Drew, when we talk about agriculture, are you talking everything from vegetable to natural beef? I mean, this is the whole gamut, right?
Yeah, as of now, if it's edible, we're moving it. We buy a lot of beef from Mitchell County right now. And our main egg supplier didn't sell this year. So she was able to scale up quite substantially.
Triple the operation.
Just based on our market, because we grew so quickly, it was tough for a lot of growers, just to jump on that. Just to say, well, I'm gonna put this investment down and trust that market, right? But over time, we sort of built that trust and, if you say we're gonna purchase, we're gonna purchase. And we don't drop people like that, which seems to be the norm in the food business, which is sad, but
So this might seem elementary, but for the people watching on live stream that may be sitting at home and saying, well, what is tractor? Can you give a Reader's Digest version of how the organization works from the moment the farmer grows, whatever it is,
Sure. So it begins with production planning, and we're actually starting planning for next year. It's a little tough because because of the move, we're a little unsure of what next year is going to look like. But it would start with production planning. Sierra reaches out to growers and asks what they can grow and kind of crosses it with what we need for that year. Then we have some good data from our community programs managers on what food pantries, what retailers, what health agencies are looking for, like what will people eat, right? And we don't want to keep running into this all the time as farmers say, oh, we're going to have 2 acres of kale, and we tell them nobody wants to eat kale. And if you just grow olive, we buy a lot more of it if we're in collards, and we have that information. We're not really used to having that. I don't think like that data has been available in rural communities for a long time of what people are actually eating. Because if we're trying to address health, right, we can't afford to. If we're trying to address health in the economic disparity of agriculture, we can't afford for that kale to end up from scratch. So we have to know what people want. So that's a big part of that production plan. It's two-sided. We're asking markets what they want, and we're asking farmers what they want. So we get ahead of it. So we know what we're going to be buying come March and April. And so those farmers know, and they'll bring it in. We have an inspection process. We have quality management systems, whether it's a food pantry or wholesale buyer. And we're sending the same quality product.
And most of what we do is focused on trying to keep costs down for farmers. So our product has already been sold before it ever enters our facility. So that right there, like our waste last year was like 3% for the entire year. And that's unheard of for wholesalers.
USDA spoilage is 10%.
That's impressive.
So that's just planning right there, right? It's not, if you plan for the market, then you're not just producing food waste, which is a whole nother story. I mean, if you look at Man Foods, their entire model is built on this feeding people without access to fresh food that's 4 weeks old from Mexico or California. And why not do it here when there's farmers, when the farmers growing? So obviously there's some economic things to discuss there, some aspects of how is this paid for and how do we sustain it. But that's what we're here to discover, is how to make that work. And there are entities in the health world that are very interested in lowering their overhead through creating access for healthy foods for people that normally wouldn't have it. Because believe it or not, those studies are starting to come out where what you eat affects your health. We can't believe
Imagine that.
I mean, we've been working this angle for 15 years. That there's all these farmers and there's many people concerned this emergency relief food from China and California and Mexico, and we've got growers right here looking for markets, and let's connect it and see what happens, because we know it's an economy of scale. Agriculture is always been an economy of scale, and if we use that to get us to a certain point, which you stand on that graph, once we have that, once that there's like this threshold where if our revenue gets above a certain point, that farmer payment shoots up what we're able to pay farmers. Because people start seeing us on the road. They start seeing the tractor trucks. And what's that? Can we buy it? Then kind of backwards, we built this competition by delivering to people without access, or people with access. See it, want it. Yeah, so the CSA is just a food, it's called Fairfield, it's a food subscription program, so you'd sign up. You can pay week to week, but you can sign up for the whole year. We did 40 weeks this year, which is the longest CSA in Western North Carolina, I believe. Buying most of that product from Kansas and Mitchell County. And people, it's like $25 a week, you get 5 to 8 items, there's 3 sizes. You have little milk, cornmeal, eggs, beef.
I was gonna say, so I saw people who get a bag of food,
Mhm.
and I think it says tractor on the bag, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it has all that, and that's what you're talking about.
Mhm. And we have drop points in Mitchell County, like Fox and Pigs one, Cross Street Building, we used to drop at Napa. Few other places, inland, yeah, hospital too. And so it's all about, and that's kind of an economic driver too, because that gets people, you know, if we have 15 bags of Fox and Pigs, there's 15 people walking in that building buying something, most likely. So it's been helpful in that sense too.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, Sierra and I live here, so we're like, yeah. It's really, you know, tractor really is uniform. And it doesn't make sense. The model doesn't really make sense in anywhere else, but you know, it made sense in Yancey because to the point where we're at now, but Mitchell is probably about the best fit I could have ever, any of us could have ever asked for.
It's great to hear.
Made it easy.
I guess you're not at liberty to say where it's gonna be yet.
Not quite yet, but you could probably ask around and find out. That's-
Smoke a little bit.
Yeah, that's how it go. Man in the middle is there. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if you have any questions, just give me a shout. Thank you.
So I apologize for being late. There was a car overturned on the mountain, a shocker, so it seems like about every 2 weeks or so, there's something wrecked on that mountain, but got held up in some traffic there, but thank you, Carly, for getting us kicked off here. What's that? I know that's not true. Next item we got tonight is the Substance Abuse Task Force. Nancy? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
We appreciate you all giving us some time to speak and to share with you. My name is Jessica Zucchino. I'm the coordinator of the Mitchell Yancey Substance Abuse Task Force. And I have with me here Kathy York. I'll let her introduce herself. I'm Kathy York.
Take it away. Okay, so we have a infograph here. I'm Cassie York. I'm in Megan with this county. I'm not meeting people in this room. I've known some people in this room my entire life, and I've known some people in this room their entire life. And I wear many hats. And tonight I'm here as part of the task force. I've been a member since probably about 2015. And as I said, I'm a native. I was born and raised here. I've lived here 44 years. And I'm here to say that I'm thankful to be alive today. I'm someone in long-term recovery from substance use. This issue is near and dear to my heart. So, okay, so here's some good information that's Mitchell County specific. But what really jumps out to me is in the middle of the page, when it shows these little people down here, 1 in 8 residents in Mitchell County between 2013 and 2020 received naloxone for an overdose reversal. And that's opioid specific. That only works for opioids. not to mention other substances, but this is about the opioid, epidemic. So also notice that it's related to suicide 11 times higher when an individual has a combination of substances. And 70% of the kids involved in DSS and families with substance related. And that doesn't capture how many people are involved in the criminal justice system because of substances. I mean, I think that, you know, since the overdose awareness events that I have, you know, been a part of, I've been really looking at the national and state statistics. And it's like estimated about 2/3 of the people who are criminally, you know, with criminal justice involved, whether it's like incarceration rate, and 2/3 is the estimate, but it's probably more than that. I mean, when we look at these numbers, we can assume that this is just what's been reported. So we can assume that there's things that aren't fully captured here. I think, you know, for me, I've lived in this, you know, for so long. This has been such a part of my life that, you know, I experienced, like I said, I'm in recovery. I experienced this myself, and unfortunately, unwittingly, my children, you know, they had to experience it too, and my family. And that's really what I want to say is, like, if we're blessed to not have experienced it ourselves or have a loved one that has experienced it, I mean, that's a huge blessing. And to recognize that our neighbor probably isn't so fortunate. I mean, this is a widespread issue. And when we lose one person in this county, I mean, and that's another number, 49 unintentional deaths by overdose. I mean, and when you think about that versus the naloxone, which is a life-saving medication, I mean, this 49 didn't get naloxone. And 49 may not seem like a lot, but I feel like in a small community, it is. That's somebody we know. That's somebody's kid that we know.
So we just want to share about the substance abuse task force and how we can be a resource, generally speaking. So I'll just go ahead and reset the scene of that we're not asking for anything in particular other than to be a resource for you and to be a part of the conversation as you talk about opioid settlement funding. So just to give you a little bit more history about the task force, we're a collaborative group. And so we bring a lot of different agencies and organizations together because we're concerned about substance use. And so some of those people are in the room here. We've got our law enforcement representatives who sit on our task force. We've got DSS representatives in our task force, folks who work with as a guardian ad litem and just general members of the community. We also have representatives from faith-based communities, folks who focus on working with youth, school personnel, government officials. We bring all of this together. Obviously, we're a dual county initiative or task force, so we do serve both counties, but we see some value in very specific support to each county as needed. So we work with Yancey County in their needs assessment around this opioid settlement funding. And should you all have interest in it, we'd love to be a supporter in that way. We have been in existence since 2009. You can see that on the infographic that we've been around for about 12 years now. And we have also worked to complete community assessments and like various grants that we have been awarded. And so we just feel like we can be of assistance. We can't complete a needs assessment for you all, but we'd love to support in bringing groups of folks together should you be interested in that. I'm keeping it pretty short and sweet. Wanted to just be able to share how we can be a resource and what our interest is. Happy to answer any questions that you might.
I have one. The surprising number here when we talk about suicide, but everybody talks about tobacco use. That is very shocking. I mean, that tobacco use is only doubles in individuals.
And I would say that's our interest as a task force is to address multiple substances. So we have an interest in addressing nicotine use, alcohol use, and opioid use for prescription drug use, opioid and non-opioid. So we focus on all of those. We receive funding specifically for those substances, but generally we know that other substances exist. So we're not ignoring any of the other substances that exist in our community. But we do have an interest in how we call it polysubstance use of multiple substances can affect individuals, and how some substances that we view maybe as less harmful, such as nicotine, can have a greater effect on the lives of our residents.
So I guess just, I would like to clarify what the ask is. So I guess what you guys are proposing is that you be a part of whatever discussion takes place among our opioid settlements.
Yes, please, and simply to be able to bring any of our task force members or any other individuals in the community to the table. We don't aim to tell you what to do with your funding that you receive. We simply want to be a part of the conversation, so we can understand, for example, how you do intend to use it, so that we can work to serve the community in other ways. Should we see a need to pursue other funding, so that generally the lives of Mitchell County residents are improved.
But it would be fair to say that the task force can help us make sure we spend money that there may be other funds for that are available.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's part of what we try to do as a task force, to make sure that efforts aren't duplicated, for example, so that we're, as many of us can be at the table saying, this is what we do, and seeing maybe another agency does this as well. So we can partner in funding, or again, just not use different money for the same effort.
And to calibrate, just, I don't know if you guys are aware, but maybe just make sure I don't say something here that's not right. I know there was a, $1 billion settlement, after all that trickles down to Mitchell County, the piece that we get, I believe is it 3 million over?
1.9 million over 18 years.
1.9 million over 18 years. And so this year we got appropriated.
We've got to date, we just got the second allotment, so we have $163,000 right now.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at, and it'll trickle in. That 1.9 will trickle in through the next 18 years. So just I don't know if you guys were aware of how much the county would be receiving, but
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up that point, because we recognize that after some of the priorities that you all may have, and just generally speaking, that amount of money that sounds like a large amount is over a course of a few, 18 years. And considering how the funding is dispersed among different initiatives, it's really not going to be all that much, and we recognize that. And that's, however, it's not nothing. And we would love to be a part of, understanding if there is a way that you all want to support some of the other initiatives that currently exist, that we could have that greater understanding to be able to serve the community. Thank you.
Let me ask you this, I was looking through the presentation you had sent on the iPad. And it appears that you have worked with Gates County.
Yeah.
On implementing some of these initiatives. Appalachian Youth to Youth, Cougar Fit Club, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Drug Education, Red Ribbon Week.
And just to clarify that all of those except for Cougar Fit exist in both counties.
Both counties.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so we have like Cougar Fit is our Appalachian Youth is our youth version of our coalition. So those exist right now at the middle school. And they have some element of substance use prevention focus. And we invite those youth members to be a part of our adult coalition conversation.
So when both of these are doing in both counties, how are you getting this to the young people? Is it through the school? Is it through a club? I mean, I hate to be so naive,
No, yeah, so
but this is the first, that I'm aware of.
yeah,
And I think it's great.
primarily it is through the school system. And so we support in alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs education in both school systems. We trained in both school systems for a vaping prevention curriculum this past summer, and then we're offering support to the schools right now around that particular issue. But any issue that we've heard from school personnel, that like conversations around addiction feel uncomfortable for them, they don't feel like they have enough knowledge to share with young people about what addiction is, what happens to their brains. We're happy to do that as a task force. We can step in and be a part of that conversation. We have medical professionals, folks who are providers who can be a part of that conversation. Appalachian Youth to Youth is also an after-school program offered in both Mitchell and Yancey counties. And Red Ribbon Week, which will be coming up soon, that'll be a speaker that comes into all of the middle and high schools. So that'll be at the end of, or the very beginning of November, that we've got someone coming in just to talk to youth about how they can be empowered to make choices other than using substances, and to share with them the power that they have within their youth community and larger community.
Do your programs take place during the school year, or is it more of a summertime?
During the school year.
Is that something that is taught in the classroom? I mean, how is this brought to the classroom?
So the like alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs education, we're partnering with the PE and health teachers in their curriculum.
Okay,
And so where they feel like they want support, we're not forcing in. We do have a strong partnership with the school system, and so we're primarily working with Angela Atkins, your social worker. And she's helping us identify opportunities to come in and provide this education. What's really special about the Appalachian Youth Group is that they have one project in particular that typically they take on. It's their choice, but they almost always choose to do this, where they go into elementary schools and they have a skit that they perform for elementary school kids around prescription drug safety and not taking anyone else's pills and how they should be properly stored, which is a really nice way to have youth education youth. And it's all, we only provide evidence-based.
I think this is awesome. So you basically, if I heard you correctly, you start this on the middle school.
That's right. So it's been a couple of years that Appalachian Youth has not been in existence since COVID. So we're rebuilding. We're starting with the middle school, and then should there be interest to bring it into the high school, it'll grow with these middle schoolers as they move into high school. Is our hope.
Do you bring anything to the younger kids, like, I guess, Greenie and Gooch? Do you have any programs set up for that?
Not specifically after school right now. The alcohol, tobacco, and other drug education can be utilized in that setting, and we are having conversations more about like the 5th grade level, particularly around vaping, and how to get that support. But we're open and interested in continuing those conversations. Should you have an idea of how we can improve that, we'd love to have that conversation.
No, I mean, I had no idea with 2 young daughters that this was available for school, and I think this is so impressive. Being in the community as a local merchant, one of the biggest problems I've seen are young people that date, and it's repeated. And it's on and on and on and on, and I don't think the young people, nor probably most adults, including myself, realize the dangers of vaping and that substance that you're putting in your system. And I'm glad you're doing this. I guess my concern was, starting it younger, scared of the death. I hate to put it that way, but if you're scared, sometimes you're not going to do anything. It's not mom and daddy busting your butt. It's it's you seeing the true effect of what this can do to you at a young age, and you're scared to do it. Because most kids are going to give up to peer pressure. Hey, let's smoke this cigarette, or let's take a toke off the joint, or that used to be the thing to do back in the day, and now they're doing meth and all this other stuff, and it's scary.
Agreed. And we are trying to bring the prevention education initiative as low as we can. And so if you feel like you have strong connections with the school system and would like to advocate for that, be a partner in conversation with us, we would love.
Well, I'd love to advocate for it. You just tell me how to do that. I've got a big enough mouth. I don't know a lot of people listen to care, but I think it's highly important. Because it's evident that we are losing generations. We're losing our young people. I think you see that more evident now And we talk about it all the time and sometimes laugh about it, kid about it, take it serious, but our workforce. We don't have a workforce. When you mention you need 2 employees, I'm thinking, well, good luck. I hope you can find 2 people that you can hire to work. But I'm sure that all of this figures into that factor that, you try something that's fun one time or peer pressure, and then you get addicted to it, and then it snowballs, and then you're just part of society. You're not a functioning part of society. Society is actually taking care of you instead of you being something valuable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what happened with me. I wasn't someone who was abused. I mean, I was like a very straight laced person. And then I tried something one time and I'm hooked on it. Right then. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, people don't realize. I mean, we can all say like, that's their decision. But when you people are young, they don't make the best decision. I'm talking about the only one that's made decisions you regret. But some of them have a heavy contact, and people just aren't aware of that. I mean, and it's hard to really, capture that for people, beforehand. But, I mean, I believe in prevention efforts, intervention, and whatever it takes to make this community better, more healthy, more active. And just like with that, when people start using it, just sucks the life out of them. They're not going to feel like working. And then they model that to their kids. And then so on. I want to break that cycle. I want to get back to the way it was when I was a kid, when that was not the norm.
When we were sledding off the side of the mountain, Cassie.
Playing with the action figures on the
Yeah,
wall.
that's right.
Those were the good days.
That was as children back then, yeah.
Thank you guys for coming tonight, and we will definitely, if we move forward with our decisions there, we'll make sure we include you guys to, in some conversations there, so.
Okay, thank you so much.
Next on the agenda tonight, we have got the caregivers, I think, welcome.
Hey, hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. We're in good company tonight. We love the task force. And then we love tracking. We bring food for our families every month at our meetings. So we're grateful to both organizations. My name is Pana Columbus, and yes, I'm with High Country Caregivers. We are a nonprofit that supports grandparents who are raising their grandchildren because of the methamphetamine and opioid epidemic. As soon as a family enrolls in our program, from the moment they enroll in our program, they have someone that they can call day or night when they need help. We had a family recently, a grandmother, 75 years old, raising her 5-year-old granddaughter. She called me at night. She couldn't breathe, but she was afraid to call an ambulance because what would happen to her granddaughter? She had to go to the hospital. So I went to her house. I called another family enrolled in the program that they're friends with through the program. I got her to the hospital, went to her to the hospital, and the other family took in her granddaughter for 3 days. The granddaughter was just a 3-day sleepover with somebody that she was friends with through the program. Afterwards, she said to us, "What would we have done? What would we have done? Really, what would we have done for them?" So when we look at this cycle of poverty and substance abuse, the pattern that we see is one of the major factors in perpetuating the cycle of poverty and substance use is isolation and loneliness and disconnection. And conversely, what an antidote to that is authentic relationships and a sense of belonging and real community. So how do we establish those relationships where they trust us enough to call us in every minute when they need help? The first thing that we do in all the counties that we serve, and we serve Nancy and Mitchell and Avery and Watauga, Ash and Wilkes, is in each county we have a monthly support group meeting. Here in Mitchell County, we meet at the Senior Center the last Tuesday of the month from 11 to 1. And that is our lifeline to the families. They come religiously every month. They love each other, and they get mad at us if we ever cancel a meeting because it's like Christmas or something. They meet without us on the weekend after the Tuesday because they need each other. They need the group. And I'll give you some examples of the resiliency that happens as a result of this connection that they forged these meetings. We had one great grandmother who was raising her great grandchildren. And she came to the meeting and she was telling us how nervous she is about her great granddaughter, teenager, dropped out of high school, too anxious to go to school, had anxiety issues, and wasn't doing her online work. And she said, all she wants to do is be on her phone texting boys all day. And she's like, what can happen to this girl when I die? And another grandmother in the program, they all know each other. They've been running these meetings together for years. She's like, isn't she into makeup? And the great grandmother says, she is into makeup. And I said, you think if I set up a tour at Maryland Community College, she'd go check out the cosmetology department? She's like, I'm asking. So the following week, we went to Maryland, and now for months now, she's been enrolled in their GED program. She goes for 4 hours, twice a week. And as soon as she's done, she's been enrolled in the cosmetology department. Another quick example of what happens when relationships are forged. We have one family, grandmother and a grandfather. They're raising their 2 grandkids, and family, grandmother, grandfather, they're raising their 4 grandkids. In the middle of the night, the grandfather has major chest pains, and turns out he needed quintuple bypass surgery. So the one grandmother, they know each other from the support group. She called the other grandmother saying, can you watch our girls? We gotta go to Ashley, we gotta go to hospital. So this grandmother took in the 2 girls in addition to her 4 for a week while he had surgery. The grandmother said to stay with them. And afterwards she came to the grandmother to pick up her kids and said, thank you so much for taking care of our kids. And she said, well, this is what family does. And it really is an extended family that's created. So that's the relationship, the resiliency that's created through the relationships at the support group meetings. We also create relationships with the kids. Every month we have field trips with the kids, and basically we do whatever they want. So if they want to go snow tubing, if they want to go river tubing, take them to the theater, take them to the orchard, whatever they want to do every month, we're bonding with the kids. And the reason why that's so important is because when we know somebody, just like that girl who was into makeup, when we know somebody who can really support them. So I'll tell you about one program, just in the interest of time that we do. We can customize programs based on the interest of the kids. One thing that we recently noticed was that some of the kids are going to go to college. And if there's obstacles, we can help them overcome those challenges. But some of the kids, and we heard a little bit about this earlier tonight, they don't want to go to college. So what happens to those kids after they graduate? And so we decided to create what we're calling a fine arts business incubator. And that has been going incredibly well. We meet every Tuesday. They're meeting tonight. I had to dash out of the incubator to come here tonight. From 4 to 7, every Tuesday we gather. First, we started with a sewing program. They make these beautiful glasses. There's a woman, she ran an alterations business in Spruce Pine, actually, for a long time. She taught the program. one of our grandmothers was raising her grandson. And now we're in the middle of our pottery program. She sold pottery to Obama and J Lo at the Grove Park Inn. She's a grandmother raising her grandson. She's teaching our pottery program. In June, we're gonna have a fashion show and a craft fair where all the programs, we started with sewing, pottery, and we're gonna head into baking. And then we're expanding, because the kids are so excited about it, into carpentry, blacksmith, and car repair. And everything that they learn how to do, we will feature at this event in June. And they will sell, and they can make money doing what they create. So they're starting to understand how the skills that they learn can earn them a living. We're going to Mainland, we're going to Upstate to give them tours. We're partnering with the local bank to get them bank accounts. We're teaching them financial literacy so that when they graduate, they don't have to start when they graduate. They're already used to making things, developing our local skills, and making something. So I know you have other things to talk about tonight, but thank you so much for your time. The biggest thing that we could use is connection to the families. You guys know the families. So if you know a family who's raising their grandkids with that work hard, please give me a call, and we'll lead them into our family.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The next item we have on the list this evening is the ARPA agreement for the provision of county-based aging services. And I think the Finance Director, Ms. Parsons, is going to discuss that with us.
I will, if you remember a few meetings ago, we talked about, the Senior Citizen Center, had applied for and received a grant for some money from ARPA. ARPA funds coming through High Council of Government. And at that time, you all decided the priorities of how this money was going to be spent, and for capital expenditures. Remember, we talked about retaining wall, the portico addition, and the generator. So part of the agreement is, our board has to approve receiving the money from ARPA. There's lots of paperwork with the ARPA funds. So, this is just saying that we approve our Senior Citizen Center receiving this money, and that it will be spent on these projects that she has submitted for them to be spent on. So I just need your approval and signature on that, and I'll send that back to Kathy Garland tomorrow, and she can send that back to High Country and hopefully start that process. And as she does each project, she will have paperwork that she will have to get completed and sent back for them on each project. ARPA involves a lot of paperwork. So you'll see more and more of this. It's not a one-time and done deal. Everything that she does will have additional paperwork, but this is just approving the additional amount of money to make that.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Max. Next item on the list this evening is the PBA appointments. Please. County Manager.
Yes. Thank you, Steve. I was talking to the board, and we put forth several names to be on a TDA. That would be an 8-member tourism development authority that basically has the ability to steer the occupancy tax proceeds to whatever cause they deem fit, basically, on the board. They have to be tourism related or travel related, or occupancy is something that helps promote Mitchell County overnight stay. So I guess I should correct myself, not anything they prefer, but down those lines. So we put forth some names, and I'm going to bring those names forward, and you all can vote to approve. So Whitney Ledford is affiliated with the Switzerland Inn Chalet. Okay, Chalet manager. Misty Self, who's an occupancy tax collector from Airbnb. Joe Glenn, Springmate occupancy tax collector.
Matt Ward, who is with us, EDC Director, Travel and Tourism Connection. Mandy Polly, the Chamber Director through Travel and Tourism Connection. Sharon Rowland, who has a Travel and Tourism Connection with Bakersville and the Bama group. Harley Masters, who is a commissioner, we have that seat requirement and also has travel and tourism background through festival organization. These are the 8 names that we'll bring forward, and also the board may need to bring forth a chairperson for this committee. They are required to. First off, if you can approve the 8 names.
Mr. Manager, did I miss Libby Phillips?
Oh, I did not speak Libby Phillips. Yes, she was one on there. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That motion that we move forward with these nominations.
So moved.
Motion and second. Everybody in favor? You just sign. The motion.
Should there be discussion between everybody on that board, just to say,
That can be, we can tables or chair. Y'all just need to whatever you need for
The commissioners appoint.
the commissioners appoint the chairs, so whenever y'all are ready.
I
Don't
think,
matter if it's this meeting.
I think it'd be good for Commissioner Masters to go and that initial meeting. We've had a discussion. She can come back and give us a recommendation. You'd be good with that.
Someone's good to me. Guys do. Is that?
Harmony, do you have any ideas when you'll kick this first gathering or notify everybody? Okay, run on top of it.
Yeah, I would like to see a meeting happen before this month's over. I don't know if it's a little too aggressive for anybody else, but all the people on there seem like would like to get it done, so.
You know, you look at the names on that's been recommended voted. And I think this board has done a very good job. It's not only these, but everybody that was nominated, but especially the ones that are chosen. I don't think we could have gone wrong. And I know all of these people. And everybody is spot on, equipped. And I guess the easiest way to say this is been a long time coming. That commission gonna say.
It has very long. 7 years.
And there's equal representation throughout the whole county, because I know that's just very important for everybody in the store. So yes, I'll touch base with everybody tomorrow. And hopefully set up a meeting so that by our next meeting, we've got info to bring back.
Well, doing that. Look forward to seeing how that group progresses. I think it's going to be really good for Mitchell County. Next item tonight is 11C, discussion on the school MOA proposal. County Manager Cook, you can speak to that.
Yes, so thank you, Commissioner Pittman. The school MOA, I've given over, we have a new attorney coming on, and I'll speak a little bit more to this attorney. Stuff we have going on a little later in the meeting, but as we bring on our new attorney, that attorney requested to kind of look over that and give some insight around that. So right now, we got a little bit more discussion that has to be done. That attorney has to vet it. I'm getting him on board with a lot more information to get him set. So I'm hoping by the October 3rd meeting, we should have some input from our attorney on that.
Sounds like we need to table that one. Sounds like to. Get a motion to table. Second. All in favor? Sign. We'll table that. Just give me more information. Next item is 11D, and that is the
Child Community Protection.
CCPT, Child Community Protection Team. Thank you.
So with me and our director of DSS made that discussion off, That is what we discussed, I think, at the last DSS board meeting. We had that list of proposed names to serve on that child and community protection team. You wanna remind everybody listening what that was?
So our community child protection team, CCPT, is the acronym for that team. It is a team that meets quarterly to look at gaps in the community when it comes to abuse and neglect of children. And we can review cases once in a while to make sure that we've plugged in all the appropriate services and we haven't missed anything for that. And we're required to have at least 11 specific members by the state as a part of this team. And you as a board of commissioners were charged with approving this board and appointing several members.
Some of these members were not the appointed committees on our authority. There's guess there's what, 7 we can, did you say that?
And there's 2 of these specific team members, and then there's 5 additional members that were optional for you to appoint.
And today, I believe you should have got the updated list. The rate was the changes that affect.
Yes, the rate was changes.
Cool. And with the healthcare provider, if we could approve either of those, Dr. Cable or Elizabeth Sparks, that'd be great. I think at this point, we've talked to everybody. Everybody is good with certain.
So we
Need a motion to make this appointments.
motion to make.
So move it.
All in favor? Motion carried.
Our first meeting scheduled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You remind me too.
You remind me.
Item number 11E is the opioid discussion, so I'm assuming that is a discussion. It's like bringing them where you can.
I'm gonna talk to Mavis. I think, me and her had a little bit of discussion about this the other day. I asked her just for some clarification on kind of where we were at, so I'll defer to our.
Okay, so today, I pulled together some information and sent you by email, and I think I gave you a hard copy. First of all, I'll update you on where we are financially. As you recall, we got our first payment back on June the 16th of $76,533.11. In the original scale, that was supposed to come in the spring, and then in the summer, we were supposed to get another allotment that was actually slated to be about $186,000. Well, that did not happen. What happened is on 9/15, September the 15th, we got a second draw of $86,000, $584.64, 86,584.64. In trying to research why we didn't get the full amount in, of course, that was a schedule, and schedules don't always work, and estimates. And apparently, one of the companies, and I think it might have been Johnson & Johnson, apparently has not paid their allotment in, so therefore the organization can't pay us. So I don't know if we'll get some more later this year, but as of right now, we're slated to get more next summer. So right now, with interest, we have $163,125.82 in the bank, in the account, throwing interest. What happens is annually, we have to provide a report on these funds. Our year ends June 30th, and we have 90 days to get that in. I think September 27th, which is actually due. We've already done our first annual report. We had a report that we did get the first allotment and how much interest we have earned as of June 30th, and the fact that we have had no expenditures. We can't do expenditures until we do our assessment plan, which I think was mentioned earlier tonight. So I did reach out. Well, let's go back a little bit. We do have a grant to pay for this assessment through Dogwood Trust. So the assessment, we're not going to pay for it for opioid funds. I'm not sure that we even could, but we actually have a grant for Dogwood Trust which we have already received that money, and that money is slated to do our assessment and our plan on how to spend the opioid settlement fund for our county specifically. So that being said, if you remember, and I attached it in here, back on April the 4th, we chose and elected, we had to choose and elect which plan or option list we were going to use in Mitchell County. Based on the amount of money that we had, and we felt like the needs were definitely there for option A, and that would be a little bit easier for us since our money is limited to the 1.9 million over 18 years. Not a lot of money when you break that down annually.
Is option eight education prevention?
And it's I gave you a list, it's numbers 1 through 12, there's like 12 items on that list. So hopefully when we do the assessment, they will help us determine where our needs are, and it'll be easier to put those needs in these categories. I did reach out to Yancey County. They are actually in the process of doing their assessment with WNC Health Network. They've not completed that, but they are in the process of doing that. And we need to decide who we want to do that assessment. The board needs to make a decision on who needs to do that assessment, and we do need to get a proposal from them. The board would need to approve that proposal, and then we would contract with them to do our assessment, and then they would come back and present that. And we could take a look at what they determine our needs are. WNC Health Network has it's done a lot of different things in Mitchell County. If you look on their website, you'll see they've probably already got a lot of statistics on there. They're from 2020, I think, but I'm sure they will update that pretty easily. And then what, just in the conversations with Yancey County, we threw back some ideas and thoughts back and forth just to use them as a comparison today. And they're kind of thinking the same thing we're doing. We most definitely will use some of our funds to continue our drug court program. They were doing that too. They're also using some of theirs for their paramedicine program that they have started. And then, of course, they want to partner with WNC Pathways to hopefully help facilitate their programs that's recommended by the assessment. So that was kind of where they are at this point. Avery County and McDowell County, Belinda called both of those today, and even Watauga. I did not talk to them, but they pretty much let's see, McDowell, I think, has got their assessment already done. And I think Avery's still working on theirs. Everyone, and even Watauga, recommended WNC Health Network to do the assessment, that they have the groundwork already done, so it should be pretty easy for them to do that.
Is the assessment a requirement of
It is, you have to have a plan and assessment. Before we can spend the first penny, we have to submit that plan and assessment in.
I kind of think, guys, not to cut you off, I kind of think we ought to consider having like a small subcommittee, kind of look at this thing after we, after we use some of these funds for things that we're going to use it for, like drug court, what to do with the remainder of the funds, and kind of help balance and make those decisions. I was thinking like substance abuse task force, law enforcement, BSS, maybe EMS, or EMS director, maybe some kind of, and one of us could serve on that like subcommittee to kind of help make some decisions about what to do with the remainder of that money.
Thanks. Well, thanks. You want a cross-functional group of people that really got vested interest and know the needs, you know, I mean. That makes a lot of sense.
Maybe come back to us with the recommendations, some options for us.
You have to approve how it's spent.
Yeah,
You can take the recommendations, but the first thing we have to do, we have to do the assessment. And that's kind of the first step.
does our grant, totally cover the assessment?
It will. I mean, I'm gonna have to, you know, if you decide to move that way, Linda has actually got an interest in this and has been helping make some phone calls on this. And I think what it is, if you direct, I will, get her to reach out to WNC, whatever they want to help. Emily, I think, is the contact there, and we will help network and ask them for a proposal so we can see exactly how much it's gonna cost, because we'll have to do a contract with them, which you'll have to approve. So we'll need to get a proposal from them. If you know of anyone else that can do the assessment, we can reach out and get proposals from them too.
Is that who you guys, okay. Is that
That's who you recommend, right? Yeah. That's everybody we've talked to, they pretty much, if you look at their website, they pretty much have done statistics on pretty much every Western North Carolina county.
This is this kind of a checkbox we have to do.
It's a checkbox you have to do before you spend any of the money.
Okay.
Money, and then we're gonna tell you, you have to pay these people to take you.
Yes, exactly. Right. No, nothing's free these days, guys. Nothing's free. A lot of work.
I move that these.
If you'll, make a motion to have us reach out and get a proposal, let me get a proposal and we'll bring it to you for approval.
I move that we do that.
Second. All in favor, what do you say? Motion carries.
Then we've not spent the first penny and look.
Keep something to do.
Okay.
So the last item on the discussion here is, our contract with attorney crime staff around foreclosures.
Yeah, just basically, we want to use the services of attorney crime staff for doing our foreclosures with the tax office. And we submitted a contract for that to the board. We just need to agree to the signing of the contract.
Make a motion that we approve the signing of this contract.
Second. Second, all in favor, what do you say? Motion carries. Thank you, James. Next item tonight is the finance officer's report. Obviously, understand that.
I don't have anything else.
No problem. Anything from the county manager since?
Just a few words, not much. Just go over a few things on here. I wanted to just shout back to 9/11. There was a 9/11 remembrance parade and emergency workers appreciation event held on Sunday, September 11th. And I just was appreciative to see our emergency workers there. And I want to thank them for what they do, whether it be the sheriff's department, whether it be EMT, communications, all those folks, fire departments, all those folks that do that, you know, sometimes you just gotta pause and think about, you know, anytime something goes down, they're there. So, I did do that, this past 9/11, and that's really impactful. I also want to give a special thanks as that does this board, but I was just gonna try to beat him to it. I'm sorry, guys. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. For what you've done on these meetings. This will be his, last where he gives us guidance via the board meeting. Granted, he's not moving away completely. He's just kind of stepping over to do just foreclosures to clean his plate off, but I just wanted to say thanks. Thank you.
Anything from the attorney's business?
Just like to say that I'd like to thank everybody for the past 2 years. Certainly enjoyed working with a very ethical group of commissioners and the manager. Appreciate all you do for the county. Appreciate what you've done as far as myself in the past 2 years. We talked, you know, my practice has evolved and changed, and I no longer have time enough to do the county work. So I certainly appreciate you keeping me here, and if anyone needs me for anything, I'm always available. And thank you again.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it. And glad to know you'll be helping us continue on our path in the foreclosure. Hopefully avoid foreclosures. Working out other plans, say that. I don't think we have anything tonight for a closed session. Board comments. Good.
I'd just like to say that, last week I went to install the, brand new planetarium and, Dr. Gordon has built. And it is impressive. I had to remind myself, I was at the landfill. Not just everything. If you are listening and, you have not checked it out, it is well worth right out there.
That time at work, I was planning on going myself, and I hate this because I've heard nothing but everybody saying that.
It was cool. I'm looking forward to taking, by myself, I'm looking forward to taking my crew with me.
Mr. Matt? Mr. Hart?
I'll echo what County Manager Good said. Our attorney over there, Dean, it's been, I'll say thank you. It's been an honor, personally, to work with you, get to know you better. Not just professional, but a personal relationship. Thank you what you have done, working, and the advice that you give us for it, and the patience that you have with us. On another note, on the 3 presentations earlier tonight, from Tractor, Substance Abuse Task Force, and High Country Charity, been here 3.5 years. And those 3 presentations, back to back to back, could not have enjoyed it to hip any better from what one service provides to the substance abuse that we have to the 3 parents raising, and all of that came together. So I was very impressed with these presentations. All 3 of those services, I think if we don't, if anybody doesn't realize the need for those services, they got their hands. Because without what these folks are doing, we'd have a lot more people struggling. So thank you all.
Mr. Grasso?
You chew my last skills. I do got them on. Put my false feet down. Dean, I appreciate what you've done for this board. I've considered you a friend for many years. And it was a privilege to bring your name up when we were looking for a county attorney. You have done a fantastic job for your county. I know you feel honored to have served your county. And we thank you from the bottom of our heart. We'll continue to work with you and respect all that you've done for us and you as an individual, my friend. God bless you.
I guess last but not least, I will offer just a couple of things here. So one, I want to say, congratulations to our rec department. This past weekend, we took in over $6,000 at the gate between football and soccer. So that's a I mean, people don't think there's a lot going on in Metro County that, and I think we charge $3 to get in the soccer game and $5 to get in the football. So, kudos to Brock and Ryan and their team, because, I mean, as a parent who has a kid that plays in it, they do a wonderful job, and I can't imagine that job. It is a very thankless job, and they do a wonderful job with it. So just want to give them a shout out there. Last night, I went to the High Country Council of Government meeting, and they did a presentation from My Future NC. So basically, there's a goal of getting 2 million by 2030, and the number of 2 million is basically changing. Let's see, let's see if it's give me exactly. If you don't know what My Future NC is, let me tell you. My Future NC is a statewide nonprofit organization focused on educational attainment and the result of a cross-sector collaboration between North Carolina leaders in education, business, government. Our mission is to prepare North Carolina for the future by empowering individuals, strengthening communities, and ensuring our economic viability in a global economy. And I think the 2 million number is basically to raise the rates of students who are graduating in North Carolina. One of the, and they give us some specific goals for Mitchell County. We need 11 more ninth graders to graduate within a 4-year window to get us from, we're currently at 88% against a goal of 95%. We've got to get 50 more seniors to complete the FAFSA, which is the federal funding. And this one kind of took me aback because the goal is 80%. Mitchell County is only at 40%. And basically what that FAFSA is scholarship opportunities that these kids can apply for to go to school. Our child poverty rate in North Carolina, or I'm sorry, in Mitchell County is 24%. So that broke my heart to think that we're only 40% of the money we're going at, we're only 40% out of that 80% goal. And we've got that many families that could use it. And I heard the application is a real fair.
It is.
And that was made very clear last night, and they are very cognizant of it and ready to work to change that to try to help get more folks involved with that. So that's really good to hear. But I actually asked Julie to get the lady that's over this to come and give a presentation to our board and really get some awareness in the community of what's out there and trying to help just help get folks on board. And they also, I had to sit through a this one that was a little bit more painful last night. But I sat through a Yancey County presentation of how wonderful Yancey County is and all the wonderful things that Yancey County is doing. I sat there and I smiled, but I don't know, it's very frustrating because they have had, and Matt, I'm so glad that you're on board and you're going to have a big charge because I know Jamie has done a lot of things over there and, I would partner with him. He is one of the best I've seen. Yancey County is very blessed to have him, but just last night, some of the projects they've got total funded secured grants utilizing the High Country Council of Government grant writing services, 20,750,000. Total funded on grants utilizing the Council of Government Grant Administration Services, 16. So basically combined total for the grants was $36 million that they pulled in over there in Yancey County for just some projects just off the top. The one that hit me the first, and I cannot believe that we didn't qualify for this. We did apply for it in Spruce Pine. The North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality awarded them $12 million for, basically upgrading their water and sewer system. We missed the qualification because our rates in Spruce Pine were not, didn't meet the threshold of the application, and we didn't score high enough.
And you're talking about rates.
Yeah.
Is that rates that are charged to customers, or is that
My
rating
understanding,
of quality of water and discharge?
my understanding was rates to the customer. But now I was catching Rocky on the way out of the meeting, just getting, so that's just me when I can't believe that and he said, no, we did apply for it. We didn't get it, and here's why. So I don't know. I assumed it was rates to the customer.
I will say Spruce Pine has one of the best rates
in the state, one of the lowest rates in the entire state. Yeah,
Yankton County, town of Burnsville is twice
yeah.
water sewer rate,
And that,
town of Spruce Pine Bay.
and it sounds like that was one one of the reasons that we didn't.
We didn't charge, Spruce Pine didn't charge enough.
First, about what charging up to meet the qualifications.
To meet the qualifications.
So anyway, I thought it was very interesting, some of the stuff that they had acquired money for over there. And we work with the High Council, governments, and I know we just got awarded the party grant for our rec center, so we're working with those, but, I can, all of us, I asked
We
them.
also have the CDBG grant through them at $750,000.
Yeah.
Plus we have a part of grant now, which is $500,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do have some.
It's, yeah, and it's just, and I asked Julie, I said, hey, help us, and Field Troop, help us know what all is available, we need to be at a place that you can bring this to where we can go and look, because we're all busy, I mean, it's not, and those guys are reaching out, but if you just had a place to look where we could do it once a month, go in and say, hey, here's some stuff that's coming up, that would help, and they, told me that they would work to get that a little more accessible for us. So, anyway, that's my spiel from last night, and my plug for the rec department. County manager, any comments?
Good, man. Thank you.
Good. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Folks, Miss Norm, I fixed you all some dessert, so before you leave, please stop in the break room and make you a cake.
That look any good, I've already